Before we get into the tutorial proper, let's begin with a brief overview of the problems that we're looking at. We're discussing source journalist communications, where you have someone with information that they'd like to get to the journalist over here, but they have to transit the internet somehow, which is an untrusted environment, particularly for email, which is unencrypted by default. Any router you cross could be monitored by an intelligence agency or other adversary, a random hacker. So could any endpoints on the way there, a mail server or a service provider such as Gmail. And aside on that is if the journalist uses a webmail service personally, or it's provisioned by their company, that can be plain text. That email can always be retrieved later on via subpoena or some other mechanism, legal or illegal, instead of catching it during transit. So that's doubly dangerous than if it's on the journalist's home PC. But the solution to that is to actually encrypt the message. Now, one of the problems with encryption typically is requires a shared secret, a form of key or password that goes between the journalist and the source. But if the source sends an encrypted file across the internet to the journalist that says, hey, here's an encrypted file, the password is cheesecake, the internet's going to know the password was cheesecake in transit. So public key encryption, such as GPG, allows the journalist to publish a key that anyone can have based on the design of the algorithm, and it doesn't provide any advantage to the adversary, because the source actually has something called a private key of his own that the journalist doesn't need any knowledge of, that'll allow him to encrypt a message specifically to the journalist. He can then send his message that would look like this, which is obviously a bad idea, and make it look more like this. And then he'll send it across the internet along with a copy of his public key so the journalist can respond. And when it arrives at the journalist, he can decrypt it at his leisure, see exactly what he was saying, and it's entirely secure with some of the typical algorithms like RSA. They're used by GPG. They've run basically cracking challenges, a mathematical factorializing challenge since 1991. It ended in 2007 with no one who's actually claimed the prizes for key sizes that are commonly seen, and it has never been broken at typical key lengths, which means that over the course of the last 20 years, it's had an unbroken record of security success. It's been peer-reviewed by leading mathematicians, so that's a solid margin of security and reasonable to rely on that. You can still have problems with GPG if your certificate, if not your public key, but something paired with it called a private key, is lost, say at the airport security, GCHQ in the UK. Somebody takes your laptop, gains access to it, steals your certificate, and then they also compromise the passphrase, the password that you use to secure that certificate. Then they can read anything that was encrypted. But obviously that requires a lot more effort than simply monitoring everything that transits in clear text over the internet, or going up and knocking on Gmail's door and going, please turn over your documents regarding this person. So with that, let's continue on to the rest of the tutorial. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to gpg4win.org. That's where we'll download the package. Click the big download button. Get the latest version. Right now it's in beta. There's a full installer and a signature. Click full install. You download this. I've already got a copy for the demo, but just click save file, wait for it to finish. Go to the location, and it'll be listed something like this. Double click it, grant it rights. And it's primarily going to be a next installer, but there are a couple gotchas. License, next. There are two agents for use, Cleopatra and GPA. GPA is unclicked by default. I would click GPA. Make sure you have both. The other one is GPG for Outlook. You don't need that unless you use Outlook. Designated path is next. This won't actually happen for you. I already have a copy installed, but you'll wait for it to install. After installation, click next. You've got to acknowledge this screen. It's for a corporate setting. It implies certificate of trust. You don't want this, but it's not enabled by default. Just acknowledge it, click next, and you're finished. Okay, installation's completed. Let's start the program. You have two choices, Cleopatra or GPA for new privacy assistant. You want GPA. It's better in almost every way, even though it's older. This is the interface. Your keys. First thing you need to do as a new user is go to Preferences and click Advanced Mode. If you don't click this, and it's not enabled by default, you won't be able to choose your key length. You want a key that is stronger than the default length. Then go into Keys, generate a new key, 3072 instead of 2048. Enter your information to be associated with the certificate. This is what will be published with the key. It's important to have accurate information if you're a journalist. For others, you can really enter anything in there. This is a test certificate. Then you're going to have to create a password or non-passwords. The only things that protect the security of the communications are the passphrase and the strength of the certificate itself. The certificate won't be broken. The passphrase could be broken using a dictionary attack or a brute force attack, anything like that. So use something strong. Pick a memorable quote that you don't have to write down that's meaningful to you but no one else knows, like Margaret Thatcher is 110% sexy. That has special characters like the percent sign, numbers, uppercase and lowercase letters, and it's very long. You want a password that's more than 20 characters minimum. So our key is finished generating. We have the new one right there. Once you've generated your key, we need to share it. We send them to key servers. That's where anyone can get public keys, not private keys. Server, send keys. Keys.newpg.net is a good one. That's the common default from the makers of the program. Just click yes, it sends the keys out there. Now people can search by your email address, your name, or the fingerprint of the key, which we'll get to later. Let's take a quick look at publishing and getting keys for people we've never had contact with. pgp.mit.edu is a public key server. Anyone can put their keys up there for free. You can search by emails. Strings, like what you're searching for, you want to use exact matches if you know what the email is. So let's check that. This is what results look like. This is the key we just generated and published. That is our key ID, which are the last 8 characters of the fingerprint. And this is what a public key looks like. When you need to share this or get this from someone else, it'll look like this long block of gibberish. Start with a begin and then PGP public key block. You just copy that, go to GPA, hit Control-V on your keyboard to paste, Control-Victor, and it'll import the key into the keyring. We already have it here, so it's not actually going to pop up, but it shows you the interface. If it's someone else's key, now they're there, you can encrypt emails to them however you'd like. Now that we have somebody's key, we can compose a message. Please pause the screen and read this note. This is critically important. Webmail providers like Gmail and some other clients will compromise your privacy. So this is what we use. We use something like Notepad, copy the text, and then we open up a clipboard in the new privacy agent. This is where you put your text. You can also draft things in here, and you just click encrypt. You say which key you want to send it to. This is a test server. You can find this key ID on any key servers and email it to that address to make sure that you've got your client configured properly. We sign it as ourselves. That's not necessary, but you can. This will allow us to decrypt our own text by selecting both people as recipients, the Dell, and ourselves. And then this is saying, just because it's on the key server doesn't mean it's actually that person. Are you sure they own this key? You'll enter your passphrase, and with that, your message will become encrypted. So this is what it looks like. Again, if anybody intercepts this over the wire when it's being emailed, it's useless to them without the recipient's private key. The public key is what you use for encryption as a sender. The private key is needed as a recipient to read it. So we copy that into the clipboard, assuming we actually sent this across the email we were the recipient. You would then put in your private passphrase, and once you've got that, it's going to decrypt it. And you see the plain text is the same. So they're freely convertible only if the message was encrypted to your private key. Public key encryption is pretty complex, and we're covering it very quickly, so we'll do a little more practice. This is the robot we discussed earlier. You can use for testing your settings. We're going to illustrate exchanging public keys with people you're not familiar with by doing this. That's their key if you didn't download it already. You just copy it and paste it in here. This is us copying our public key to send to them. You just right-click on your own, you click copy, paste it so you see what it looks like. That's what it is. It's the block. But then you'd open up your email client, put in the recipient who is associated with the key, send them an email, and paste your key right in there. This isn't a security flaw. There's no benefit to the adversary by doing this, other than identifying yourself as that key holder, that email address with that key, if they're not the same. And then you send it. This is what we received in return from Adele after we did it. What she's done is she's taken that key and encrypted a message to us that only we can read using our private key. So you get that message, you open up your clipboard, again, a Windows clipboard, you paste that in there, and then you just click decrypt. And as long as you've already put your passphrase in, it won't ask you for it. But otherwise you'll have to enter it again. And this is the text. This is how public key encryption works. And this is how your source would be communicating with you. Okay, that's it for our crash test on use. As far as publication, this is the Electronic Frontier Foundation, their staff directory. Here's one of their legal directors. You see they include their GPG keys in their contact block. They got a little link there. The link opens to this page, and sure enough, it's another key. All you have to do is copy it. Anyone can do this. You don't have to have contacted her previously. And then paste it with Control-V, that's Control-Victor, into their window, and bam, one public key imported. Right there, Cindy Cohn, Cindy at EFF.org. Now we can encrypt communications to her that cannot be eavesdropped upon in transit. This is huge and very important. Okay, to close this out, we'll practice encrypting one more time to Cindy using her key that we just downloaded. Put in any message on the clipboard, again, not with your webmail. Then you click decrypt her name, yes, and she's the only one who can decrypt this now. And that's it. You copy that, you paste that, the ciphertext in your webmail, and you're good to go. Thanks for watching.